happy that coincidentally this falls on a national holiday, so that we have some youngsters in our midst who hopefully will become our next ISC turtle girls or dolphin girls. We don't know yet. Maybe they don't know yet, but we will be there to support them in their path towards marine biology or marine scientists, or maybe just activists like us to them. Huh? Okay, so thank you very much again. We will start with my colleague Cheyenne Samson, who is going to make a statement about her vision on sea turtle, the future of sea turtle conservation in Suriname. Cheyenne has a bachelor's in environmental science. She has a master's degree in conservation and sustainable development. Yes. And she did her thesis work for bachelor's on sea turtles in Suriname. One of the few people who has done this in Suriname to study sea turtles in the field. So, Cheyenne, with that, I would like to invite you to come forward.
Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Before I start my vision, I want to give you guys a little history about how I got into this field, how I got into sea turtle work. And it was due to a project that was done with the Nature Conservation Department, Stiff Dons, and I believe WWF as well. And this program allowed people, everyone who was interested, to go to Brownspun, which is one of our nesting beaches, and spend a week with the game wardens there to see what they do, what does their work entail. It was my first time seeing a sea turtle. It was super exciting, and I remember writing this letter to participate together with my fellow students, highlighting why it's important for us to participate, because we were like the future nature protectors, environmental protectors, and we have never seen a sea turtle. We had never been to Brownspun. So for us, it was really important to participate, to get the opportunity to see the work in real time and to also see the issues, because that's another thing that we saw. A lot of the threats, a lot of the issues with the work, lack of funding, lack of material, lack of people. So that inspired me to do my bachelor's thesis at Brownspun on sea turtles. So with that in mind, for the next 10 years of sea turtle conservation, I personally identified 3 things that are really important, I believe, to promote and to continue the protection of sea turtles in Suriname. The first thing being knowledge, the second being collaboration, and the third awareness. And I'm going to dive into all of these different action points to kind of explain why I think that these are important. You'll see me reading here every now and then. First of all, knowledge. We need a lot more knowledge about sea turtles in Suriname. There's not enough research being done, unfortunately. There are not enough sea turtle experts in Suriname. We don't have a lot of global technical sea turtle experts. We don't, as far as I know, have anyone who goes into the field every year, stays at the beach every year to collect the data, not just data about the number of nests that we have, but also the hatching success, the emergent success, what are the active threats. We need that data, not only because it's important to protect these animals. Obviously, if you don't know what the problem is or where the problem is, we can't effectively protect them, but also for the NGOs and the people who write a lot of grants among us, we know that we need that data to get the funding to continue to research. You know, I'd love to sit here and say that we don't need to find a way to get more money to do the work, but the reality is, without the money, we can't do the work effectively. So we need the data also to get the money. Second of all, let me start with this. In order to protect sea turtles effectively, we must invest in consistent and high quality research. And I want to emphasize it needs to be consistent and it needs to be high quality research. In order to do that, we need to train people, preferably locals. There are a lot of international experts, and we also work with international experts. But we would like for locals to be the expert, because no one knows their environment better than someone living there, right? We think we can all agree to that. So if we want to protect sea turtles, we need to train locals. Secondly, we need to make this research and this knowledge accessible, because that is another issue that we have. There is a lot of research being done, but it's not accessible to us. It's not accessible to students, it's not accessible to especially the local communities who are currently helping to collect the data. They don't know what's happening to the data. They don't know where the data is going. And this is not me saying it. This is what I'm hearing from these people in the field. They are collecting the data. We don't know where the data is going. We don't know what the data is saying. So how do we keep them motivated if we don't even know why they're doing it, right? So the second part is collaboration. And we need to create a transparent and a balanced partnership between the government, between NGOs and CSOs, and between local communities. And again, I want to say it needs to be transparent and balanced, like I just said. Involving local communities in the collection of data is amazing, but if you don't know why they're collecting it, what is happening with the data, what does the data say, it's not a transparent and balanced partnership. So we need to bring together government agencies, civil society organizations, and local and indigenous communities to help collect data, help protect these animals, and create a culture of equality where all actors have equal voice and influence in decision making. And it needs to include strengthening cross-border cooperation, because as we all know, we share sea turtle communities, we share sea turtle populations with other countries. So we need a collaboration as well. But also with countries that we don't share sea turtle populations with. Like for example, we work with German sea turtle expert who lives and works in Costa Rica, who does an amazing work with her local community there. She has a volunteerism research program that allows people from all over the world to travel to Costa Rica, stay there for 3 months, collect the data, and then also pay for doing this. So it's kind of a self-funding program. That is something that, again, the people here, the local community here has expressed interest in. So that is a great way to work with another country, another expert, to encourage research, and not just research, but research being done by local community members. And my last point was awareness. Obviously awareness within the local communities that are responsible for protecting our nesting beaches. They need to know why it's important to protect these beaches, not just for the environment. Unfortunately, I think we can all agree that the argument that we need to protect something because we need to protect the environment isn't significant enough, effective enough anymore. We need to link it to other facets of our lives, and protecting sea turtles isn't just good for the environment, it's good for the economy. It's good for these communities to make them more self-sufficient. So we need to create awareness about that as well among those community members. So we also need to create that awareness among the broader public. How many people in Suriname have seen a sea turtle? How many people in this room? Well, maybe this is the wrong crowd to ask. Have seen a sea turtle? A lot of people in Suriname have never seen a sea turtle, and unfortunately, at the rate we're going, we'll probably never see a sea turtle. So how do we change that? How do we get them to be motivated? How do we get them to be more involved in the protection of these animals that they've never seen, and they don't see the significance of protecting them? A lot of people see the significance of protecting the forest, but why protect sea turtles? So we need to do a lot of awareness, a lot of education, provide a lot of education to change that way of thinking. Sea turtles, protection of sea turtles is not just good for local communities, it's not just good for the beaches, it's good for the entirety of Suriname. And that's the end of my speech.
Thank you, Shane. statement. And I often say, with the status of our sea turtle protection, some people know me maybe as the dolphin person or as the sloth lady. There are other people who are known by specific names, and I've never heard of, saying people like there's a sea turtle man or a sea turtle whisperer in Suriname. But if there were, then the person that I'm going to introduce next would be one of the first people, I think, that we could call a sea turtle lady. So with that, Avanaisa, I would like to introduce you. You have worked for many years in sea turtle protection. You have fought for your ideas about how to do this. You have studied, and I think you're now pursuing new studies and masters, I think, because you're trying to understand the drivers behind the decline in sea turtles. And I think with that, you're showing that it's not just about the biology of the sea turtles, but it's about what drives the decline and what can we do to make it better for them as well. So with that, Avanaisa attorney, I would like you to present your guest.
Thank you very much indeed. I will. I'm very short. My presentation is called Reduce Marine Turtle and Coastal Fisheries Interactions. I will give a quick summary, similar to Cheyenne. I was honored to be able to study marine turtles, work with marine turtles a long time ago. That was from 2000 to 2005. And then there was a couple of people who were studying marine turtles. There were publications. There were Surinamers going every turtle season to pit tag turtles and to count them. And all of that was. And I am now calling it an honor because after 2006, all of that ceased to happen and until this day. I have known turtle beaches in, I've worked at Galilee primarily, and then there was a nice turtle beach only 1 kilometer long, and turtles, leatherbacks would come from 7 in the evening to 7 in the morning, and the lady is nodding. And yeah, you would have like 99 turtles, leatherback, just leatherbacks for a night. And that means that you were walking and encountered leatherback, and I think that lasted for 3 or 5 years, and then the beach disappeared. But even so, we would still have leatherbacks a lot on our beaches in Galilee, but also in Africa. So it definitely is for me a very emotional time going back, and very heartbreaking if you go to the beach now and you have to search for leatherback and hope that you find one. Yeah. So that is why I cannot emphasize this call. These are the locations. We have Galilee and Ramsden, which are our main nesting sites, but we also have regionally Shell Beach and Cayenne and Alarimako for French Guiana. Shell Beach it doesn't have a lot of turtles, but I cannot say that too loud because we're in the same boat currently. The main recruitment is at Abalali, Mapo, and Cayenne at the moment. We talk a lot about leatherbacks because they're the most vulnerable at this moment because they have experienced a major decline of 74% from 1999 to 2017, and now we're 5 years further, and I think we're near 90% decline since 1999. Here we have some migration routes for the leatherbacks. In 2012, we've done several satellite tracking of the leatherbacks, and here we have 6 more. And the study was done in 2022. It was a consultancy study which was done to ground the national report for the status and situation of the leatherbacks. And this was the result of the satellite tracking, and then based on this, 4 habitats were identified. That are these. These, the lines, the blue lines you see are the dead lines. And then we can see that in the 40-meter line, which is actually, how should I? Which is the gray one, So here we see this first line here is the 40-meter depth, and then you see that in this part you have most of the internesting activity happening here, where you have the dark spot, and then the next one is after the 40-meter depth here, and then it disperses. So what the turtle community is calling for is especially for the internesting sites here. An internesting site is the area turtles go between nesting. So they come to nest six times a year average, leatherbacks anyway. And then while they're here, because they come and go, while they're here, that's called an internesting period. So that area, for it to be a protected area or a low fishing zone. That's this part. And then if you look at the nesting data, I got this from a presentation from WWF a month ago, I think. We see that there is a sharp decline, like I said, 74% in 2017 and much more now. And the main driver for this is bycatch. There is some bycatch by other fisheries, but the fisheries that is contributing the most to bycatch for leatherbacks is coastal fisheries. There has been several studies done in 2006, 2010, and 2012, and the last one was 2015, 2016. I don't know if WWF has done some more recent studies for coastal bycatch, but this is the information I have to now. And then if you look at this, you'll see that 88.1% of the turtles do survive if they end up in a net, but 12% don't. When you look at these numbers, it's like 100 max. This is just for the boats which the fishermen that work with us, which aren't a lot, like 246 trips, which you can see that as like 20 or 30 fishermen. made by Kim Sees, and this. Before we talk about the correction, she determined that all of the studies which were done in 2006, 2010, 2012 were underestimated based on the studies she had done in 2015 to 2016. She calculated the right numbers based on her study was done for a full year from January to from November to the next year, November again, and this was her estimation based on that. So more than 90 leatherbags were killed, but based on her data, she came to an average of 1,285 interactions, of which this number is here. So when you look at this number, it doesn't seem like a lot. If you put this, if you make this 100, just based on what we know, right? And we go back to in 2005. The leatherback population, which was estimated based on pit tagging, that's actually counting individuals, was estimated on 1,500 to 5,500 females, the population, just females. If we look at the sex ratio for leatherbacks of 1:1, then we're talking about 10,000 males and females for that population. That was in 2005 based on pit tagging from 1999 to 2005, 6 years. Now we're 20 years further. Even if we would stick to this number of 100, thank you. Even if we would stick to this number of 100, we would be losing 2,000 individuals over this period. And these are just females. The problem is that we got a lot of males in the population, more males, and the other problem is that we lose females who need to nest for us to keep the population going. So this is a very, very brief, it's a big problem. And I cannot emphasize enough that we need to fix this. Here is a latest phenomenon, the last 7 years, island, which was already there, of course, but it had surfaced, and the fishermen have now made like a harbor there, like they're staying there, and because they're staying there, the effort has increased of their fishing, because they're now at the nesting beaches doing their fisheries, where before that they would come from the city all the way here and then move to the fishing sites. But now they're just there and going up and down. So the fishing the effort has increased a lot, and so has the nesting, the interactions. We don't have data to establish this exactly, but I mean, we need that data, but even if you look at the fish oil, you can see that it's a big problem. And they're still there. It is I would call it, yeah, it is an illegal mooring site, but they're still there. What needs to be done? We definitely need to reduce these interactions in any way possible. One is that the Tehepan needs to be declared off limits. It's too close to the nesting sites. Green turtles are even nesting on that island. So yeah, I don't know how many things need to happen before this is declared off limits. Either like a protected area of some kind, whatever means. And then we need to also regulate the fisheries much better. Every year the licenses are getting more and more and more. They're also doubling their licenses by taking a plate from one boat and placing it on another, or having boats with the same plate. So even if we have we know we have 400 licenses for coastal fisheries, the boats active can be up to 600 because the fisheries is so, how should I say it, unregulated. The other thing is also we should have a way that turtles are safe when they come to nest in the water, not just on the beaches. And that can be a really protected area, no fishing zone, no netting zone, closed season. There are many possibilities, but we should really want to do it. And then what can we do? I think the first one should be something that we can do. And then the rest, like regulating the fisheries, might take some time because fishermen are not easy people. But even so, we will have to get them on board one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanisa. As I said, for me, if there's a sea turtle lady in Suriname, you are the one. So, now you were actually asking what to do. How can you work with these fishermen? How can we get them on their side? And that's why we have this exchange with our international partners. I'm now introducing, want to recognize also the director of the Amazon Conservation Team, just for working together with us on this important topic. Want to introduce Max Villalobos, who is from Costa Rica, and he's a seasoned conservationist with over 20 years of experience protecting biodiversity and restoring ecosystems alongside communities across Central America, so not just in Costa Rica. As director of programs like Tortugas Preciosas, Leosa, and Ancestral Tides, he champions marine and coastal conservation with indigenous peoples in Costa Rica, Mexico, Panama, and Colombia. Max, please.
It's an honor to be here. I'm going to share with you a little bit of the lessons that we learned from our initiative called Ancestral Tides. As Monique mentioned, we worked in Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, and Colombia already, and we mostly do it with indigenous communities. Ancestral Tides is not a traditional, conventional project. It's more in the space of a co-creation, that blend ancestral knowledge and the Western science to protect not only the sea turtles, but the entire ecosystems in which they depend. One of the most important things that we do, and I think it is important for all the future of the conservation of the sea turtles in the region, is the governance model based in the communities or the indigenous communities. Unlike to top-down academic or governmental approaches, we really get the community into the core of these strategies, of conservation strategies. That means that we really need to take into account, the ecological wisdom that the communities and that indigenous communities have, and they have, they reach that level of knowledge, passing that, that traditions and that knowledge over the generations and generations, and blend that with the scientific monitoring. I totally agree with Jane that we need to train more local people. They need to be the base of what is happening in those ecosystems. If the local doesn't really know what is happening, and they don't have the skills or the tools to monitor and scientific prove what they are doing and how they are protecting, because they are protecting those sites most of the time, on how they are degrading those sites sometimes, because sometimes the communities get to a point with the situation and the context that they are living and force them to go over total resources and overload the ecosystem. And sometimes they don't have the skills and the abilities to measure that. And that is a very important point. And the first thing that we do when we start working with a community. Another important point that we want to mention in this context is regional networking. And I'm not talking about the Congress with scientists that we do and we participate very often. I'm talking about something more related with the grassroots organization, with the real people in the field. Historically, those communities were banished from the coast. At least this is the situation in our region. When the first colonizers get into the areas, they first reach the coast, and all those indigenous communities, they move it to the forest, to the highlands, and they lose that connection, And those territories is still part of their ancestral territories. We need to recover that connection, and we need to share, those experiences around the region, not only, my country. Suriname is one piece of the puzzle. Costa Rica is another piece of the puzzle. And we need to get that connection. The same way that, the turtles connect us, traveling around the oceans and, spreading the word, as the Mamu and the Colombian coast says. This is a really nice history, or how you call that, a legend from the Mamus in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. They said that the hawksbill turtle, with this beautiful pattern that probably most of you know, is not only beautiful, but the shell of the turtle is a map that shows us the roots in the ocean that connects the Sierra Nevada, the belly of the world, they say, with other regions. This is very poetic, not very scientific, but it's a good example of how turtles connect us beyond science and beyond the techniques, For us, and I think for all the projects around our area, the cultural revitalization is a conservation goal. It's not only something nice to do or something cool to do in this moment. The rise to the territorial groups and territorial self-determination is key to preserve the ecosystem. And probably is one of the most difficult rights to be recognized is the right for the communities to decide on what is happening on the ocean. Because the normal areas of indigenous reserve that we know around are in the mainland, are forests, and probably far away from the ancestral territory they used to have. It is important to recognize that and place all the efforts in conservation that we can create on those rights and the self-determinations on the locals and the indigenous cultures. Because their traditions, their spiritual symbols, the symbolic practice, we found they are really tied to turtles to feel bent on. And they need the right to decide on them instead of impose governmental regulations or all these scientific designs, rules. Because the traditions and are essentially, the traditions they have, those cultural traditions they have, are essentially management rules. That's what they are. If we can follow and somehow equalize those traditions with science, data, and decision making, the conservation effort, it would be stronger. And it's going to be is going to be stronger in time. What is what we really want? In terms of sea turtles, a couple of decades are nothing. And we need to really think a long term in this kind of endeavors. And finally, we really believe that it's important to take account to support the livelihoods of these communities. In Costa Rica, we say, when you are hungry, you cannot take the conservation at all. It's really simple to say, but what that means. And it's not only about money. It's not only about resources. It's not only about the possibility to have a nice car and a big house. It's about why those communities really want and what they really need. And the only way to find that is pay attention. Sit up, pay attention on what they say and how they behave and what they care about. Why that this, the reason intrinsically why they use one of the species and they don't touch one of the other species. Why? Why does it happen? Why they build this knowledge? Why they build this rule? And they are culturally inbred, in the community. Just to give you an example, in Panama, the Guna Yala people, they not only, 2 minutes, they not only eat the turtles, the turtle eggs, they eat the turtles, the green turtles. They love. And when they do a celebration, they hunt a turtle. But they don't not even touch the litter. They say if you touch a litter bag, the turtle is going to take you to the ocean. I'm never going to take you back. They are afraid to touch the turtle. When you realize the scientific side is just one part of the equation, you enter in a different level of conservation, in a different level of impact. So I know Suriname too holds, profound indigenous knowledge of the species. So what we need to do is think about how we can create alliances to honor this local leadership and this local knowledge and reflect that in all our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. That was amazing. And I hope in the discussion we can go a little bit more into detail. So just having online again. So with everything we've heard so far, the person I'm introducing now to you is somebody who brings especially love to conservation. Nina Marco, she's the director of Brazil's Tamar Foundation, and she's a key figure in sea turtle conservation, blending science, education, and community work through Progetto Tamar. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about it. Thank you.
So if I get nervous or I get emotional, it's something that I haven't learned to control yet. So I did a little presentation that has a lot to do with my job. I'm actually a creative director, so we have lots of directors in the MAP, but I work with a lot with environmental education and magic and everything that I liked when I was a child, I like today as an adult. My name is Nina Marcovaldi. I was born in Praia do Forte, Bahia, one of the main nesting areas in Brazil. At that time, my parents, who are oceanographers, were in the beginning of a mission, saving the Brazilian sea turtles from the brink of extinction. 24 hours after I was born, Mom and Dad brought me to a Marine Conservation Project Research Center that was also my house. So as soon as I was born, I went to the office. 24 hours at least. The research center was my home, and it was located in this little fisherman village. Around 150 native families lived in Praia Forte. It was a very rustic community that depended on artisanal fishing and the land. So a lot of farm, roots, and also fishing. And the community depended 100% on that. We didn't have roads, and we didn't have any job opportunity, and everybody was involved with farming and fishing. Just like many other traditional coastal families, in Brazil, sea turtles were very common seafood. The eggs were nutritious and abundant, and the meat was much appreciated food source. They ate the turtles a lot, the meat of the turtles, the greens, the olives, and also the eggs. So everything was used. Sea turtles were considered a local delight as well. So if you went to visit one of these coastal communities, the first thing they will tell you is, wow, we have something very special, a green turtle soup. And I heard my whole childhood, Nina, let's have some turtle. To this day, I still am bullied with people that are like, let's try some turtle. Have you tried turtle? And I understand that culture is something that we need to respect. So it's not that easy to come inside somewhere that culturally eats turtle. So when people ask that, I think people think I'm going to be mad. And I come from a place that is like that. So I totally understand, especially if there's no other opportunities to eat. Because we have countries in Africa and places that I visited that there's lack of food. So we need to target the lack of food as well, and not just saying, okay, don't eat turtles. So the shells also had an attractive market value, and they were sold to make jewelry, purses, and many other hand products. So I have some pictures over here, and they're all in Brazil, and this is a jewelry. This is actually a jewelry fabric, and they used to eat the turtles. They kept it in little bags, and this picture in the top is the place that I was born, and this is the fishermen. When they go to take the turtle, they turn it upside down. The green turtle, the hawksbill, the loggerhead, the olive ridley, and even the gigantic leatherbacks were being exploited in their most fragile yet powerful moments, when they were laying eggs in desperate need of multiplying the species. Well, it turns out before I was born, my parents had a plan and a really big team. So they put together a solid team with a lot of oceanographers, biologists, and they made all the difference. When I was born, Projeto Tamar had already taken big steps. Scientists, biologists, fishermen, local women and children slowly joined our project in many different ways. From the beginning, the tartarugueiro, which translates into a turtle watcher, was a very important role, and to this day he plays a very important role in conservation. All around Brazil, we have turtle watchers, who are local fishermen who knew and know the turtles' habitats and environments, and were hired to protect them. Patrolling and helping scientists, making sure the eggs, females, and nests were not only safe, but being studied. So that as soon as the students came in the community, they knew that the fishermen knew more about the turtles than they do. So they're like, how are we going to teach these people some things if we need to learn with them some things? So the first thing that happened in Tamar, I think, was a simple way of solving. That is what my colleague was talking about, hearing out, paying attention, and hearing, and especially learning through this ancestral knowledge, which is powerful knowledge. As I grew, the math grew little by little, turtle by turtle, and most importantly, individual by individual. The culture of killing slowly started dying. A bigger collective consciousness and environmental awareness started growing at different scales of society. For many years, I went back and forth with my parents on expeditions, research trips, meetings. No doubt it was a childhood filled with adventure and nature. Today I live in the same village that has grown and became a very popular tourist destination, but much has changed. The same families that were there in the beginning, the fishermen families that started with us, are still with us, but now we have 3-4 generations of family working together. Today the locals know that the turtles have much deeper value when they're around and alive. They have learned to respect and protect the sea turtles and their environments. Today in Brazil, poaching is not a problem anymore, but there are many big global and new local threats growing, like photo pollution, bycatch, and especially building in places. So we have a lot of loss of habitat, and animals that did not prey on turtles are not coming to eat the sea turtles. So even if we paid a lot of attention to the nesting areas, now we need to pay attention to behind the nesting areas. The population of the 4 of the 5 Brazilian sea turtles are increasing, and society has learned to respect and protect these incredible ancient animals that have great value to planet Earth. So here I'm going to talk a little bit more about the story of Tamar. In 1977, an expedition to the unknown Atoll das Rocas was tasked with collecting seashells for a university. So some students of oceanographer, they were in an expedition to collect seashells, and after a few weeks in the expedition, they seen fishermen slaughter a turtle. And they had never seen that. And once they seen that big animal lay and all that blood, they knew they had to do something. So this event changed the focus of the expedition and also turned into my parents' mission. Together, them and a group of people, they proved the occurrence of sea turtle nesting in Brazil, which was still unknown in the scientific literature at that time. So for instance, they were in oceanography class, and the teacher said we didn't have turtles in Brazil, that it wouldn't be, he thought it was a waste of time to see if the sea turtles was there and that the populations were insignificant. But they proved the teacher that it might be different than what they imagined. After returning to classes, the students documented the events by sharing photos, written reports, and materials collected during that expedition. An adventure that became a pioneer marine conservation project. In 1982, after 2 years of searching for nesting areas along the Brazilian coastline, Projeto Tamar created the first 3 research and conservation centers: Regência in Espírito Santo, which has the leatherbacks, Pirambu, and Prado Forte. The first hatchlings of the Projeto Tamar here were born in Prado Forte during the first year of monitoring. At this point, Tamar's actions were new to Brazil and to most places in the world. The goal was to understand the sea turtle's behaviors and threats. So slowly the small laboratory turned into an important tool for environmental education, the Sea Turtle Museum in Prado Forte. The first research stations and museums. In Brazil, many coastal communities used to kill the sea turtle, so our first goal was to change that, and we needed the local support to do it. Projeto Tamar started by hiring these former poachers to patrol the beaches and protect the nests, and also we offered economic alternative to these villages and started changing the younger generation through environmental education. So we started hiring the fishermen, then we started hiring the fishermen's wives to make lunch for the fishermen, and then we had groups and we needed somebody to make a beautiful dinner. So we started getting community involved every time that we had science events. Soon we confirmed that by looking after people, they would look after the sea turtles. miracle of life. This is something that I think was a game changer. One of the most early actions was to relocate the eggs from areas that they were in risk of consumption to research and monitor stations. So we brought the eggs to safety and we monitored those eggs. In general, women and children were unaware of the beautiful and fragile creature that hatched from the eggs. Once this life was revealed to them, the turtle's destiny changed. So this is very interesting. The kids, the community that ate the turtles, never seen the baby being born. So the first nest that we took for us, we invited the whole community to open the eggs and see the turtles being born. And I feel like as soon as the kids and community saw that little pretty being, it changed a little bit their way, and that was like a changer. Who is Projeto Tamar? Tamar is a private non-profit organization since the 80s. It has been protecting sea turtle species that are here in Brazil. We have 5 of the 7 species in Brazil. I brought replicas of it, so if you guys want to see the characteristics after, they are right there. I also have a coloring magazine. It's in Portuguese, but we have a little bit of all the species if you guys have kids at home. It's really nice to color. Projeto Tamar's mission is to promote the recovery of sea turtles through scientific research, social inclusion, environmental awareness, education, and the appreciation of local cultures. We are in the most important areas in Brazil, so we have 6 visiting centers, 22 locations, which are research stations and stores. We protect 1,100 kilometers of beach, and I must remind you that for that we need locals, because locals are our main eyes in the beach. So everywhere that we have hatchlings, we have lots of local guardians. In our museums, there's a bunch of environmental and also fun activities. So we have photographic exhibitions, play areas, spaces for cultural events, we have cafeterias, restaurants, stores, and we have a lot of aquariums. So my colleague here said that we don't get to see the sea turtles. And Brazil has an ocean that's easier to see, but some people cannot go in the water. So it also made a difference when we were able to bring the turtles, not only for research, but also for the people to come close and see the sea turtles' characteristics. Creating jobs to protect the sea turtle. So this is very interesting because the places that we do the researches, some of them are not tourists. Those places are the places where we produce artisanal gifts, shirts, different types of products that are made in different local communities, each one with their cultural knowledge and ancestral products. And we resell them in places that are tourists. So we make job opportunity in places that don't have tourists, with the Fisherman's Wife, for instance. One of the places that makes most artisanal projects is in Espírito Santo, where we have the leatherback, because it's an indigenous community that's far away, and we make a lot of our clothes, shirts, hats, and the wife of the fishermen have jobs. This is very important because fishing goes up and down. So if fishermen don't have what they eat, they will try to bring more fish, maybe the smaller fish. So involving all the family in different scales helps out for people not to take too much and for us to be a part of that equality that's still far from happening in the world. The new generation. I really believe in the kids and I have hope, so I really believe in the new generation. New generation of people has grown up together with conservation and awareness activities. We created environmental education programs that promote an awakening to marine conservation. Today, many of our students have become professionals and play strategic roles in the math. So we have biologists, professors, veterinarians that really grew up with us. We helped out with college and now they're growing in the math. Approximately 3,000 children and teenagers from traditional coastal communities have participated in long-term projects developed by Tamar. So when they come back to school, they go to Tamar, and in many places we have classes that have children 1, 2, 3, 4, even 9 years with us. Sea turtles guide all these activities, but we have surf, we have canoeing, we have diving, art, sport, culture, and environmental education. I believe are great allies in building respect for nature, especially sports that have to do with the environment you're in. You get in contact with the sport and you get to observe nature. For us, this generally translates into new professional opportunities, community ownership, leadership, community representation, strengthening, and appreciation of new potentials. Local leadership for me is something very important in our project, so I hope that the youngins and my little brothers that grew up with me and work with me today are leaders of the future. So the families of the fishermen that once exploited the Brazilian sea turtles now preserve the species and have an important role in marine conservation in Brazil. These are all my brothers and they're all like the same generation. We grew up together and they're leaders in Tamar. If people go, I think they have trained more than 3,000, 4,000 marine biologists, and they're locals training people that go to universities, so it's really interesting. It ends up that the student's dream became reality because it was so little in the beginning, and I've seen everything growing. The middle picture is the house that I was born in. When I was born, it looked a little bit bigger than this. This was our first door, right there where it says Balcão de Adoção, right here. This is my mother. This is me. I learned to walk with the sea turtles, so I think I might have learned to swim before walking as well. So I bring here the results that are really impressive. We made a big jump in the nest, so you can see here when we started we had 11,588 hatch nests, and today, like the last 2011 to 2021, 267, 205,000 nests. So I remember when I was little, I used to go with my mom on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days looking for sea turtles, and now I go in 5 minutes and I see a lot of sea turtles. So it's, in my eyes, things have changed and I can see that difference physically. These are more results of the map. So we have more than 800 scientific articles. We protect around 25,000 nests a year. 1,800 job opportunities non-direct, 400 employees direct, 1 million visitors per year. Let me say to you that Brazil is very big on soccer, I know you guys all know, and we get more people than the Maracanã, which is the place with big soccer games. So I'm really proud that the turtle get as much visitor as soccer. And 2 million baby turtles protected every year. 4 among the 5 species are recovering. Big changes are possible. 99% of the nests stay today in their original location, so we used to take them out. Now we can leave them there, so that's a big change as well. And society has learned to care and protect for this incredible ancient animals. Love, a conscience, and persistence has turned into conservation and hope. I really believe that when we talk to people and we turn science into more accessible and we show people that it's not that far away from them, we have big chances on touching the heart. And I think that we are all nature. Nature is not there. We are nature. So I really believe that we can change a lot of things in the world. And this is now Projeto Tamar. I showed you the picture when I was born. This is how it is today. So we have a really big museum, really nice, with a lot of species, not only sea turtles, but sea turtles friends, like nursing sharks, pufferfish, rays, and we have big groups of schools coming daily to visit. And this is it.
Thank you. We are running late, as you know. We started a little bit late, but I would like to invite all the panelists to take a seat at the table. We're going to have a little bit of interaction, I think, first, because, I have a lot of questions, but I think I would like to first see if there are questions from the room about the presentations. And I think if anybody wants to ask something, I have a mic here, and so we can walk with that. Not very far. Is there anybody in the room who would like to ask a question from the panel? Yeah? Okay, can you come here, even because I'm not sure how long it is.
I did it myself. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I only followed a part of yours. Have a nice yours and Max. So congrats for this first week, setup like this, Ocean Week. Yeah. I have a question. Is there any sort of network amongst the region established already to exchange the lessons learned, the best practices? I mean, your story was great. 2 million was that annually? You don't need to remove and replace the nest. The last time I visited a beach in Suriname, we had to, replace. I don't know if that's happening still. Replace the nest. So that's not needed anymore because is it that the people don't poach or your beach is not as dynamic as ours that it is changing?
Environmental education for 40 years.
Hello?
Yeah.
I believe that it has changed slowly. We are the eyes on the beach for the last 40 years. We work 7 days a week, every single day. So we can't count with the government fiscalization, the laws don't work. So if we have people every day on the beach and we manage to have good logistics, we have the beach working. When we had the COVID and we had to take some people out of the beach, slowly things started changing. We had one poach or another. So we know that we have to stay in the beach and we have to keep the environmental awareness, sensibilization. We always bring turtles to set free with the community. We always are in the schools and we haven't left the schools in the community since. So we believe that education is the key tool. If we can't count and we don't have the resources for the right, how is it say that? Like, you don't need a police when people know what to do, So we try to target the people's conscience and subconscious through a lot of art, and we don't have to relocate that. But now, for instance, we have a problem coming to the beaches that are the big houses with lights. So we think that fishermen were a big problem, but we had great conversation, we had exchange with them. Now we have this new problem, and we don't want to relocate the nest because of big houses. So things change, and we have to learn how to be flexible and try to target, like my friend said, it's about society, the people that live in the beach areas, tourists, everybody is coming to an area that's very delicate. So if we're in the area, we need to figure out how to protect it.
Er was nog een deel van de vraag. In English. Yeah, the other part of your question was if there's a network. So we have YCAS for the Caribbean. And actually, that's an organization that's very old. I think from 1996. So yes, we have been working with YCAS a lot. The turtle community is a big community, and they're doing lots of work. So it's it's not that there isn't any information or that there is not enough of networking. The problems we have in Suriname are mostly locally. Yeah, how to organize that better. That's where we come short.
I want to add to that, I agree, I totally agree. I think that what's missing in Suriname is that equal partnership and that collaboration between the different partners, because currently it feels like a few partners have the lead, which isn't a bad thing, but I think there needs to be a plan for the future as to how we can create equal partnerships between NGOs, the government, but also the local communities. I mean, what you're doing is amazing, and that's what we want to have in Suriname. And I have to say, and I think Monique will agree with me, that we've spoken to the indigenous community here, and they are interested in research projects like Damar. That's what I attempt to say the rest of it, but yeah, but we need better collaboration, but we also need the funding to do it. Like, I think that once these types of projects are up and running, it kind of, it's sustainable because it's able to, yes, exactly, but we do need that initial upfront investment, and for that we need money. But I think we need to work on equal partnership, transparent partnership, and then work towards setting up these types of research programs. And we've had these discussions before, and we've heard, well, we've tried it in the past and it didn't work. I think that's a very discouraging way of looking at it. We need to try it again. And we need to also approach it in a broader manner, not just focus on the environmental aspect of it, but just like you said, to look at the spin-off effects that it can have. How can it impact the local economy? How can it allow for these communities to be self-sufficient? How can we allow other people who aren't involved in the seasonal work to still be involved in the project? Is it through providing meals? Is it through providing lodging, transportation, you name it? So I think we need to look at it from a broader scale and not just like seasonal work or seasonal research. Another thing that we've heard as well, it's dangerous on the beaches, so we don't want to risk people's lives or we don't want to risk people's safety. But that isn't also something that we need to look at, because I mean, seasonal work is being done in Costa Rica where unfortunately environmentalists are being killed, murdered on beaches. They're still doing a lot of really amazing, great work. So how can we do it there and not in Suriname? So I think we need to have those honest discussions with all of the partners to figure out how can we move forward and how can we set something like that up. Because I do think we have amazing beaches. I know that Brownswood is disappearing, but Dalibi still has a lot of great beaches. We had Christine Baker here in 2022, it was, I believe. And I was with her we went to various beaches, and she was so amazed by our beaches and how many sea turtles we have. And she's like, why aren't you guys doing more with this? Like, this is amazing. We don't have this many beaches and this many sea turtles visiting our beaches. So you guys do, what are you doing with it? And that's the question, what are we doing with it? So it can be a really amazing resource for the communities, but also just the country. So yeah.
I think it's clear that Cheyenne is very passionate about this. Yes, and I couldn't agree more. We've been running a program in Galilee for many years where Cheyenne with my colleagues, they go there and they do activities with the children twice a year. And the children always ask them, when are you going to be back? So we will continue. I don't know how we're going to fund it because our funding is also running dry, but we will continue doing this because we're committed to education. Is there anybody else in the panel who want to respond to that question? No? Is there other questions from the room? Yes? Our next sea turtle generation.
Good morning. My question is, are there any other promising technologies that can help sea life that you would suggest to me?
I'm 45 years old, so for me, all the AI and all the technology advances going on, it's kind of like a challenge to keep up with it. But in doing so, I also came to a point where I acknowledge that we need to embrace it to move forward. So for every problem, there seems to be a technological solution these days. And it is really true. That's the other one. So for monitoring, we have drones. We don't have to do like walking beaches. So there are many possibilities, but it's only that you just have to ask ChatGPT. it's a joke. But where I want to go at is that, what I just said is that there is a technological solution for many problems. It's really true if you look at it, if you really go and pursue it. So, but in marine turtle conservation, to come back to that one, we still are at the stage where we need to engage people. So we have to find a way to use technology more to engage people to do more for turtles. Because throughout my years of doing turtle work, the people that really stay or even stay involved with nature conservation in one way are those that really work with turtles. So it's not just a visit to the beach, which can do it, but the people who really work with turtles, like Shannon is also saying, those have a higher chance of really continuing doing something with turtles. So technology is great, but we should also keep the human aspect to it.
I think we have incredible tools right now. You know, we have GPSs, we have GIS, we have a capacity that we haven't, you know, in the past. I think the key of this is how we make that technology reach the people in the front. You know, people working with the nesting sites, and how we use that data that, you know, creates another ethical question. You know, now that we are able to get all that data of the size of the species, even the communities, how we're going to manage that? It's a racing question right now. But yeah, I can tell that we are in a golden moment talking about technology, and the capacities that we have are incredible.
I'm going to talk in a non-scientific type of technology, but I believe that the more we talk about sea turtles, the more we create innovative ways for people to see them, the better. So I think environmental education and consciousness comes a lot from innovative ways. So another thing I was thinking, maybe you can't have an aquarium, but you can build a cinema where people are going to have 3D images of the things that we can't see. So sometimes we think, oh, what can I do that has been done? But sometimes a lot of things haven't been done. So I think that using the audiovisual, the designs, the AI in favor of bringing people inside the ocean, but with not being wet, maybe inside a classroom, maybe in a museum, making apps that will make a person dive in and know everything that's going on, maybe is an opportunity to think out of the box. I think as conservationists, we have to think out of the box, because people like new things, young people like new things, so we need to make science interesting. Yeah. And we need you guys for it.
I have a question, Daniela. I'm Brazilian, and I grew up listening about Tamar. I became a biologist probably because of Tamar. I'm actually very proud of hearing. I actually get emotional every time I tell people about Tamar history and what they did in Brazil. And my question is more though towards the Surinamese analysts. If Tamar survived for 30 years, maybe completely independent from the government, on private funding. And let's say that there is private funding available for project, a similar project in Suriname, what would be the barriers left for this to happen?
So, Cheyenne will speak from Green Heritage Fund's experience, and I will just speak from my experience with having many conferences and many meetings and many discussions and many reports. It is the coordination from, so we can say we can do something without the government, but in Suriname the law, nature conservation law, protects all nesting beaches. So because of that, you cannot have an activity on the nesting beach without the government's consent or permission. So it's not just consent, it's permission. Yeah, actually that's it. And then because you need that permission, it will come with other things that will be added to that, but also interests and yeah, how should I put it? Yeah, interests that need to be covered. Where at a certain point, my experience is that we lose sight of the objective, the goal to save marine turtles. That gets lost in the translation.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's like I said, I feel like it's the lack of transparent and equal partnership. There is one partner that feels that they have more power and more decision-making capacity, and then the other partner that feels that lack of ownership because of that lack of power and then lack of decision-making capacity. So I think if we really want something like this to be successful in Suriname, we need to create that equal partnership, that transparent partnership. Every partner has to know what is happening at every stage of the project, whether it's setting up the project, running it, etc. And I also think it's a lack of awareness about how this can be beneficial for not just the sea turtle community, but the entire country. So that's also something that we would need to work on, because I don't think sea turtles get the same amount of attention and recognition as other parts of our environment. A lot of the attention in Suriname goes to forests. Recently, we've included mangrove forests in that as well, but that is where most of our attention and funding goes to. But not a lot of attention goes to sea turtles, and I mean, the attention that does go to sea turtles goes to like the terrestrial part of it, and not the nesting beaches. We are barely looking at the aquatic part of the equation. So yeah, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the partners themselves. And I think once we address that, we will be able to set something like that up in Suriname and have it be successful.
Max, do you want to contribute anything to this? There is one more. Oh, there are two more questions. Okay, you have to come up here because.
Hi. So, considering the importance of talking on equal grounds between partners, I think that also counts for example, NGOs in the midst, so not only as an NGO with a partner like the government, but also NGOs amongst each other, etc. So I'm thinking, what is necessary to create those equal partnerships? Because when I hear the story of Thomas Foundation, then it really comes across as a story of love and about recognition of hope and stuff like that. Where I come from, equal partnership is something that is demanded. It is not something that is a given. It is not something that we can always have a conversation about. It's about equal appreciation of different types of knowledge, just like the indigenous knowledge, which is not always appreciated by the government, for example. So then we kind of get stuck. So how do we get around creating equal partnerships? How is those different types of knowledge being appreciated? Is it a journey of love and proving that you are capable of protecting as a local community? Or is it demanding and maybe sometimes putting down your work maybe and demanding that you are being seen and that you get a seat at the table or something like that?
I think I will ask our two international guests to respond to this.
I'm going to talk from our experience, and because we work with indigenous communities, this complete equation of collaboration changed, because now it's not government, base. It's not, the core is not the government, the core is not the law, the core is the community and the ecosystem. And because we work in territories that are legally recognized as indigenous territories, it changed the game completely, because we need to, as a different players, to combine our effort in what these communities need and what these communities want. And that gives you a line, And, traditional leaders and traditional government have a lot to do in that, because the way that they see the resources is not the same way that we normally operate. What I mean with this is not money-based. As you said earlier, most of these partnerships are led by the one with more money or with more power. When you base that in the ecosystem and the community, that doesn't work that way anymore. Why? Because they really have the power in those territories and the self-determination, and they decide what they want to do. And it changed completely this direction. So you can have all the money you want, the big name international you have, and doesn't mean anything if you are against what the community decides or what the community wants. That is difficult, but sometimes the community decides to take more advantage of those resources. And it's our challenge to learn from them and to teach them how to be sustainable in the use of those resources. But and it's only our case, but I really believe that this biocultural conservation is one of the paths to break that top to down conservation managed efforts.
Yes, I think there's one more question from the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because now we are really late.
Good morning, my name is Joan. I don't have a question, I just have a suggestion. I know that from the past 10 years, a lot of programs and projects have been done related to the sea life, especially our ocean. So now the activities in our ocean are more. So maybe, and there was a suggestion to attend to the Biodiversity Convention to also put protection of our sea in our law. So maybe we have to go for those things to establish a better fundament to work on. We know that we have a backlash in the way our laws, our opinions, but we have to keep on going for that to get a fundament, and from there on step to the next level.
Thank you, Joan. Much appreciated. I want to thank the panel because we're really late now. I'll give you all a 5-minute break and then we come back for our ancestral tides presentation. So thank you once more, Cheyenne, Amanaisa, Dina, and Max. We have some coffee and tea, I think, outside. So please take a sanitary break and we'll be back in 5 minutes.